Welcome to episode 6 in our, what are we calling our webcast. Today we're going to be talking about networking and building your business with Philip Pelto. He has a great story, a lot of information, and I think we're going to have some fun. And welcome to the Double Dragons webcast, where we talk about wealth and wellness and building your brand and your story and your business and all that good stuff. The ultimate goal is to live a better life with purpose. And I'm Shane Callahan, founder of Endurance Wealth Planning, where we focus on building your wealth utilizing a modern financial planning approach. And welcome to my co-host, Benjamin Martin.
Hello, I'm Benjamin BK Martin. I'm a mortgage loan officer. My latest thing is just a quick little announcement. I just got my certified veteran lending specialist license, so I can help you with all things related to veteran and veteran home loans. So really excited about that, but also equally excited about our guest today. So I'm going to let you introduce him.
Sure. Like I said, we have Philip Pelto. Welcome, Philip.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Why don't you just give us a little background about yourself, and then we'll continue on from there.
Cool. So, man, where to start? I grew up in Minnesota and got into sales accidentally. I was pulling chairs at a local ski hill, and my girlfriend's dad owned a chimney and furnace cleaning company, and he offered me a job telemarketing for him for like $6.25 an hour, I think, which was about $1.50 more an hour than I was making pulling chairs at the ski hill. And so yeah, I decided to take it, and turns out I was pretty good at it, and just kind of fell into sales, and got recruited to sell Cutco knives, and then ran an office for them, recruited and trained about 1,100 kids, and then I sold suits for Tom James, sold copiers for Canon, and then started a networking company back in 2005, and have been doing that ever since. So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Cool. Well, I think that's what we want to focus on today is building that business, your networking company. Talk to a little bit about that, and we'll move on from there and hopefully educate people on some wealth building.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, they're very intertwined, right? Wealth building. And I think now more than ever, people, the relationships that you have and your network is a new currency, new form of currency. And, that there's that cliche that everybody always says, your network is your net worth. But it's, they say it for a reason. It's very true. And I think the stronger network that you have, and the better quality people you can surround yourself with, the more opportunities you find yourself running into, and the more chances you have to sort of advance your finances and your station in life, I guess. So when I didn't really know anything about networking or referrals or building relationships in a formal sense until later. I think Cutco is the first time I learned about it, but I realize now, looking back on my life, that's just something that I kind of grew up doing, and I moved around a lot. I think I went to 8 different schools or something before I graduated high school, and I just out of necessity needed to make friends fast and needed to get introduced to new people and new cities and new schools that I was in. So, the networking component of it was just sort of part of my life and how I grew up. And when I decided to turn it into a business, it actually, when we started my business Firestorm, and I'll delineate a little bit. So there's 2 networking companies that I own. I own Firestorm and I own Certus. Firestorm I started back in 2005 in Minnesota. Certus was actually, I acquired this one 2 years ago, and this is a Denver-based company that also started about 17 years ago. And anyway, when I started Firestorm, there was no business idea there. It was just a way for me to grow my other sales business, which at the time I was selling suits for Tom James. So I really wanted to control my prospecting efforts, make sure that I was getting around the right types of clients, getting around the right types of referral partners, and developing those relationships to grow my business with referrals. So this was the way that I decided to do that, and really didn't have a business plan in mind when I started. But I think we did it kind of side hustle for about 4 years, and then I decided to take it over full time in 2009. So it's been a full time gig ever since then. So yeah, and this is our new deal, Certus. So the Firestorm and Certus are very similar in practice and in philosophy and the education piece of things. But the delineation is Firestorm is a business to business organization. So we focus on any service provider to another business, and Certus is all on the consumer side of things. So anything that's focused on the consumer. So, the residential real estate, mortgage, insurance, financial planning, and then, chiropractors and health and wellness, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Phil, I've got a question for you. You
Yes,
run
sir.
two different business groups. You run a B2B and a B2C, business to business, and business to consumer. Oftentimes I've found that when I'm in a networking event, let's say it's the Top Golf meet greet and golf, or something with the chamber, or whatever the different event I have, there's always those two factions that exist. There's always your B2B people, and there's always your B2C people. What can the B2B people do to help the B2C, and what can the B2C do to help the B2B? Lots of letters I just threw out there.
Yeah, it's I don't know. The business world is full of these 3-letter acronyms. Actually, there's a company that I know of that has a document that has all the 3-letter acronyms and a description. Anyway, so the reason that I separate them, and I think they should be separated, is because they're having different conversations, and they have visibility to different conversations. And while there could be some overlap, generally speaking, there isn't a whole lot of overlap. So it's a challenge when you have a hodgepodge and a mixture of B2B, B2C folks, because they don't, let's take you guys as an example, right? So BK's doing mortgages and Shane's doing the financial advising piece of it. When you're having a conversation with your prospective client, doing some sort of discovery meeting, that centers around, for you guys, their financial picture, right? So it's, what are their assets? What's their income? Where do they work? Yada, yada, yada. And you'll see certain things, but it's really focused on that person and that person's finances and their, individual picture. Their business occasionally will play into it. BK, of course, if somebody is a business owner, you'll have some visibility to that, because you got to see their income, where it's coming from, and all that. So, and same with Shane. But if you think about somebody that does website builds, when they're having a discovery call with their client and they're talking about, what's it look like and what's it need to do, and all that stuff, really, they're going to have visibility to other issues for that business. They're going to see marketing things. They're going to see, the payment processing that ties into the website. They're going to see, the banking side of things, or maybe that person's tech stack and their IT needs. They're really never going to have any sort of conversation that that circles around personal financial matters, or somebody that, nobody's going to talk about their mortgage or potential IRA that they have going on. Like, that conversation focuses around that website and that business. So they're kind of siloed, I guess. And so if you're really good and you're really an astute question asker, you could discover some things and uncover some opportunities for, if you're talking about a business, you could discover some things about that business owner and their personal financial situation. Or if you're talking about a person's personal finances, you could discover some information about, a website need or whatever. But generally speaking, those two don't really mix. So That's why it's important to, I think, to keep them separate and to develop relationships with the the personal side of things and with the business side of things, and make sure that you're being extremely strategic and intentional about the types of conversations that your partners are having with their clients. So does that make sense?
It sure does. I appreciate that. I did. Sorry to take this over, Shane, but I did want to transition into to another question, and that is, I asked my my managing broker this when I first started with Alliance Mortgage Group, and I got his answer, and I definitely want to hear your answer. So, let's say you were plucked from Denver, you were dropped in a brand new city, no contacts, you knew absolutely nobody there. What would you do to make a successful business? And go.
The first thing is to grow a big beard, right? Is that the
100%?
Exactly.
I think I started growing the beard when we moved to Miami, and it was okay. It's definitely a bigger hit in Denver than it was in Miami. But so it's interesting you ask this question, and I have started over from scratch as an adult in a new city where I knew no one. I've started over from scratch 5 times in a new, completely new. I mean, I went to Munich, Germany. I went to Miami. I went to Scottsdale. I went to Denver. So completely different areas. The first thing I do is I will reach out to my network, the people that I know from wherever it was that I was before. So I've got my home is Minneapolis in the Twin City metro area. I'll go to those people and go through my LinkedIn contacts, and I'll see who do they know that's in this town, in this new town that I'm going to. And I'll get a foothold in that area, right? And then I kind of branch out from there. So if I can just get one contact in a new city, I can sit down with that person, and I'm really awesome at bonding and rapport. Like, I can sit down and we'll be best friends by the end of the meeting, and you'll want to help me out and, have me babysit your kids and bring me over to your house for dinner. Like, that's my superpower. So once I get that one person on the ground in the new town, I'm game over. Like, I'm set. And if the other thing, which, sometimes there's not a new contact, nobody knows a person in that city that I'm going to, which actually hasn't happened yet. But if I couldn't find somebody, I would start going to every networking event I could find. I'd go to the Chamber of Commerce. I'd go to, Network After Work. I'd go to, like, Meetup has a million of them, and they're not all going to be great events, right? Most of those events are probably going to suck, but you're going to find one person at that event that is like-minded, that you jive with, that you can go out for coffee with or a beer with, and start to pick their brain about who do they know around town, who should I meet, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. So those are the first 2 things that I do. Like, reach out to your warm network, get an introduction to that city, and if you can't do that, then start going to every networking event you can find.
Yeah, that makes sense. So going back a little bit to the B2B versus the B2C business.
Yeah.
If someone is looking to build their business, whether new in the city or they've been in that area for a while, you, like you just said, you can network to 22 hours a day, but not really get anywhere going to these different events. So what are some advice that you see, people that succeed in doing this by networking? What are some of those, things that people are doing that work versus not doing that just, ends up being a waste of time?
Yeah, totally. So the first thing that I think is super, super, super important is you need to have a clear understanding of who your ideal client is, right? So that changes based on what business you're in and whether you're selling to a person or whether you're selling to a business. And I think one of the easiest traps and the biggest traps that I see people fall into is thinking that everybody's a prospect, right? Like, oh, I do mortgages. Like, everybody needs a house and I can sell to anybody. Yes, technically that is true, but you really need to be able to articulate how people can refer you, and you need to be, I think it's good to be known for something, like niches make riches. So figure out who your ideal client is, right? And then focus all of your prospecting efforts on going after that particular client. So, I'll give you an example, like how to kind of identify or, game out an ideal client. I used to collect comic book cards. I was a total nerd, but the comic book cards would have a picture of the character on the front, and then on the back side it would have all their stats, stamina and agility and strength and speed and all that, and then a little backstory on the character. I make a card like that for your ideal client. Like, make a pretend picture, get some stock photo off the internet, and then put down all their attributes, age and employment status and where they live, and what kind of car do they drive, and all the things that you think are important for your ideal client. And if it's a business, do the same thing. This is the business, and here's where they're located, and here's the revenue and the employee size, and yada yada yada, and a little backstory on them. And here's the thing: like, none of us have the time to have like 8 bajillion clients, right? We only have so much capacity to handle clients, especially if you're in a relationship type business where you're doing financial advising. Like, you can't have 6,000 clients unless you hire a bunch of other people, and then they're not really your clients. You're running a business, and those other people have clients. So I want to work with people that I like. I want to work with people that I think are cool, that I want to sit down and have a beer with, that I want to have a relationship with. I want to like the people that I'm spending most of my time with. So put that in there too. Like, personality wise, this is who I want to work with as a client. So figure that out, understand your ideal client, and then figure out who else is selling to that same ideal client and having visibility to those conversations. I mentioned earlier, in the example with somebody doing websites, they're going to come up with they're going to uncover other areas, other needs in that business, the tech stack and the credit card processing and payment processing and the web hosting and the all these things they're going to see. And for you guys, it's all the personal financial stuff, like where's their property casualty insurance at, where's their estate plan at, where who are they using for their personal banking needs, and who's their accountant, and da da da. So you have visibility to certain other industries. Those people have the same visibility to opportunities for you. So understand who those referral partners are, power partners, strategic partners, doesn't matter what you call them, but figure out who else is selling to the same ideal client that you are, and then go build a relationship with those people. And I think that's one of that strategy piece of it, and planning it out, is where a lot of people kind of fall off the wagon in networking. They'll go to a group and they're like, oh, I'm going to run around and just like meet as many people as I can, because you never know who somebody might know. Well, yes, that's true. But, Shane, like you said, you can do this, 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, going to events and just network yourself out of a job because you've got so much stuff going on. I would rather be super laser focused and go to one thing that I know is going to be super awesome with people that are dealing with my same ideal client, than go to 50 events where I'm just not really sure what I'm going to get out of it. So, and there's also another thing that I like to talk about and delineate between what most people think of as a networking event, air quotes, is really a prospecting event, right? You go to a happy hour, you go to a thing where there's a bunch of people, you don't know any of them. That's not networking, that's prospecting, and most people go in and they think, well, I'm going to go try and find somebody that's going to buy my product or my service. I'm going to find a client there. That's fine. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. In fact, that's, definitely something I would do if I was in a new city, or trying to aggressively grow my business. But it's different than networking. Going into you're basically cold calling, right? You're knocking on doors, except instead of knocking on a door, you're just going to a room full of people. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. So you get to go around and pass out your card and like, oh, Are you a prospect for me? No. Cool. All right. On to the next one. Are you a prospect for me? Cool. No. That's a prospecting event. That's not a networking event. Networking is having this long-term focus, building strategic partnerships, understanding who's dealing with your ideal client, taking them out, developing a relationship, really getting to know them, understanding what makes them tick, developing that over the course of time, and then getting them to like you, to want them to help you out, and educating them on how they can do that. And so, Shane and BK, when you guys are out and somebody says like, oh, there's a bunch of crap networking events around here, I don't know what to do now. You're going to say like, oh, you should call my buddy Phil. And that's networking. Like, you guys understand what I do, and next time somebody says something about it, you're going to make an introduction. So
I love it. So I want to take that conversation one step further, and you've kind of already mentioned that it is your superpower, and I can tell you from my personal experience, after our one-on-one, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid too. I went downstairs and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I have a new man crush. His name is Phil Pelto, and my wife's like, oh boy, here we go again. Great, he's got another man crush. So how do you, once you get that, you're at the networking event, you're establishing, you made the connection, you get the business card, you're getting ready to go out and have that beer, have that coffee, or have that virtual one-on-one. What do you do to take that to the next level? What is the bonding and the rapport look like for you?
So there's a few things, and this takes place over time. Like, first of all, the baseline that you have to understand is like, it's like dating. A business relationship is not significantly different from a personal relationship, right? The mechanics of it are similar. You've got to, walk before you can run. You got to go out and get to know that person. You're kind of courting the relationship. You're figuring out, how can we, do we jive together? Is there something there? Should we continue this? Should I invest time in it? And know that, I don't go in with any expectation of receiving anything out of it for a long time. Like, I'm all about like, how can I invest time, energy, effort, emotions into this thing, and eventually it's going to pay off. It's kind of, the Godfather kind of thing. It's like, there may come a day, the day may never come. But so like, I'm trying to do favors for people, make deposits in that relational bank account before I ever want to make a withdrawal. And maybe I never do make a withdrawal, like, I'm just kind of keeping that card in my back pocket. But from a bonding and rapport standpoint, there's a few things you can do to nurture the relationship and get to a level where you could make an ask. First thing is ask a lot of questions. Be curious. Be interested. I think it's a Zig Ziglar or Stephen Covey, Dale Carnegie, one of those guys, said be interested versus interesting. And that's really challenging for salespeople, right? And people that love to talk. Like, I'm a salesperson. I love to talk. I've got a million cool stories. Anything that you say, I'm like, dude, I got a story that relates to that, and I want to tell you about it. But you've got to stop doing that if you want to develop a relationship, because people love to talk about themselves. And that's why we all do it. It's like, I want to talk because I've got cool things to say and I want to impress you. But if I'm trying to develop a relationship with you, I'm going to ask you questions, and then I'm going to shut up and I'm going to listen. My first sales manager said, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them proportionately. So it's hard, and I'm not gonna, especially for people like me, really hard to shut up. But if you can do that and you just ask a lot of questions, nice, love it. So if you can do that and you actually listen and you take notes, mental notes about what that person is saying, they'll leave the conversation thinking like, oh my gosh, that was the best thing that ever, that was the best conversation I ever had. And I might not have said anything. They just got to talk the entire time about themselves. So I'll listen, I'll take some notes, mental notes. I'll go back, I'll, put notes in my CRM, or my note cards, or however it is you keep track of that stuff. And then next time, something comes up about something they're interested in, like, give you an example. I have this member of Firestorm, and I know he's a big car guy and loves old cars. And we were in New York a couple weekends ago, and I saw this like totally redone, like sweet old Porsche. And I just snapped a picture of it and texted to him. I'm like, hey man, thought you'd like this. It takes zero effort on my part, other than the fact that I had to think about it and make the connection between the car and this dude. But then he's like, oh, that's super cool, man. Like Phil's thinking about me. That's really, that's nice. It makes me feel good. He's paying attention to the conversations that we have. I didn't text him and be like, hey, here's a rate update for today. It's fine to do that, but the picture of the Porsche still keeps you top of mind, goes a lot further. It's non-business related. That's developing a relationship. So little things like that. And eventually, you do enough of that stuff and you really build a friendship with these people. You can go ask that person for anything, down the road. And but save it, save it for a good ask, right? Don't just waste it on dumb stuff. So hopefully that answered the question. I'm not 100% sure. I kind of rambled there.
No, it did. And to kind of piggyback off of that, one of the things I like to do, and I think I shared this with you, I dabble in sportsbook betting, and I use my sportsbook betting as an opportunity to reach out to a friend that, I know somebody in my group is really interested in soccer. So I'll find the most interesting game for me. I'll send him, hey, who's going to win this game? And next thing I know, we have a 20-minute conversation about who's going to win the game. To be honest, if you're watching this, you know who you are. I don't care about soccer. I just like talking to you. I just like staying in front of you without, again, texting you, hey, interest rates are really low. Do you need this? Or I've got another friend super into the Dodgers, and I was able to get a lead out of that conversation of just, hey, how are the Dodgers doing? I placed a wager. We were talking throughout the game, and he's like, oh, yeah, my brother's looking to buy. Can I send him to you? Well, yeah, sure you can. Let's go ahead and do that. So I think that exactly what you're saying is that if you're looking for short term, then make the ask every single time in every single meeting. Just ask every single time. If you're in it for the long haul, if you're in it for the relationship, if you're in it for a career, establish a rapport, bond with them, and continue off in the long haul, and you'll be way more successful in the future than burning all the bridges you can right now to get as many people into your pyramid scheme as you can.
Yep, I agree.
Yep. All right. Before we end, need to finish up with the crazy question today. So I understand you're in some ultra running, correct?
Yep.
All right. So how did you get into that? What's the longest race you've done?
So I got into it. I started running a long time ago. Just I don't remember why. I just started doing it, and then I started going longer distances. And you do a 5K, and then you're like, I actually went straight from 5K to marathon because it was like a bucket list thing, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna run a marathon. And then I did a bunch of marathons, and then it became about running marathons in different countries. So I was like, I'm going to do a marathon on all the different continents. I haven't got all of them yet, but I'm on my way. And then we moved to Colorado 7 years ago, and I had never done any trail running until we moved to Colorado. And then I started getting out in the mountains. It was just a nice way to, get off the roads and see the mountains and get out in the woods. And then I realized that there's this whole different community about trail running, and they're insane. And I was like, I kind of like these guys. They're super crazy, and they run really far. And so I signed up for a 32 miler, 50K. And then I've done 4 50-mile races. And I haven't done a 100-mile yet. So the answer to your question, the longest is a 50-miler. But I would really like to do a 100-miler. I just haven't found, I've found a couple. I just haven't gotten into the race yet because they have wait lists and qualifying times and all that nonsense. But yeah, it's insane. I know there's something wrong with me. And I also know that that's probably not going to change. Like as soon as I do a 100-miler, then there's 200-mile races. My wife and I went to on a road trip last year, and we drove the course for the Badwater Ultramarathon, which starts at Badwater Basin, and then goes all the way to Mount Whitney. And it's a ridiculous course, and I kind of want to do it as well. So anyway, it's fun. It's just about, doing something stupid and trying to find your limits and all that.
So is it just the running thing, or are we going to see you on America Ninja Warrior someday?
No. I'm not. Zero upper body strength. Like, I'm lucky if I can do a pull up. So yeah, cool. Just the running.
Nice. Do you think there's any advantages in mixing adventure outdoor stuff that myself included is into, and business networking? Have you done any of that? Because I've tried it a few times, and it can get tricky depending on the person and the activity and whatnot.
You mean like doing an event where it's
or like go for a run or a ride or something like that, but instead of doing it in front of drinking coffee, you're doing on the bike or running or doing whatever.
Yeah. I love that idea, and I think it's people especially in Colorado, are very open to that. Going out and doing a hike or going for a bike ride or whatever. If you're trying to have a conversation, you should make sure that your partner is equally matched physical fitness wise, because I run at a pace where other people might choke to death, like trying to keep up. So just be mindful of that kind of stuff, and make sure that the activity fits the crowd that you're with. But I love that, and I think it's another way to connect with people, and squeeze a workout in while you're technically working. Mm-hmm. And I think it'd be really cool. And I'm a big skier too, and I know we've done a bunch of like ski networking events where people can run and do some skiing, and then we'll get a spot at the beach at A Basin and have a little networking event, barbecue thing going on at the base of the mountain. So do some laps and then come back and have a chit chat with some people. So nice. I love that kind of stuff.
All right, I'm up. Especially if you skin up, I'm there. How about that?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. BK, do you want to end this out here?
Sure thing. Thank you guys. Thank you, Phil, for joining us. I know I took about 15 notes, and I've had many conversations with you, and I feel like every time I get just a brand new nugget or a brand new golden opportunity to make my business grow. So I would strongly encourage you guys, if you have any interest in learning how to network, when to network, where to network, certusnetwork.com. Phil is going to be absolutely amazing. Check out his podcast. What's the name of the Referral Bench?
Yep.
Check out his podcast. It's absolutely a fantastic way to just learn. And yeah, Phil's an amazing guy. He'd be happy to sit down. I'm speaking for him now, but he'd be happy to sit down and do a one-on-one with you, learn more about your business, and how Certus or Firestorm can help your business grow. So thank you so much for being here, Phil. I think it was absolutely fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let everyone know where they can find you. I know it's been scrolling at the bottom, but for our audio listeners, let everyone know where they can find you and how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so actually the best place is to go to my LinkedIn profile and just put in my name, Philip with one L, Philip. Last name is Pelto, Pelto. I am the only one of me in existence in the world, so I come up everywhere.
Awesome. Shane, where can people find you if they're interested in learning more?
Sure, so LinkedIn, obviously, and then my website, endurancewealthplanning.com. The phone number is 720-696-0265.
Fantastic. And I'm BK again, Alliance Mortgage Group. You can reach me at bk@amglending.com. I'm going to change up the script and say I'm on Facebook at Benjamin Martin, NMLS 932357. We do lots of fun little giveaways. As Phil mentioned, it's not all about business. We do a lot of fun little posts to keep you educated on what's going on in Denver and that kind of a thing. So definitely check us out there. And 720-575-1999 is my phone number.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Take care, guys.
Yeah.